Добър ден, почитувани гледачи! Я следите 379-та емисија на македонско издание, која што секоја втора сабота се емитува на Роджерс телевизија на каналите 10, 63 и во High Definition 510. Презентирањето на македонската култура, традиција и музика е целта на оваа телевизиска програма. Исто така, како што знаете, бележиме портрети на успешни македонци во Канада, како интересни личности кои со своите дела на некој начин ја збогатуваат македонската комуна во Торонто. Јас сум Победа Пискачева, продуцентот, уредникот, водителот и монтажерот на оваа ваша програма, и на самиот почеток сакам да ви се заблагодарам што одбравте во наредните 30 на минути да бидете заедно со нас. Емисијава ја започнуваме со материјалот снимен од презентацијата на успешни жени и македонки во нашава комуна, организиран од Канадското македонско историско друштво по иницијатива на Вирџинија Еванс. 6 успешни жени беа поканети да зборуваат за своите достигнувања овде во Канада. Во продолжение проследете ја презентацијата на една од нив.
First of all, thank you very much for the invitation, Virginia. This is an honor. I feel quite less accomplished than most women here, given my age and my, onset to my career. So I am very, very pleased, and thank you again for the invitation. So I'm going to start a little bit differently. I'll start with the story of a young girl who always wanted to be in the front seat, most often having the wheel in her hand. I was always that person that wanted to pursue whatever interest it was without any hesitation. My sister would sometimes try to stop me, such as preventing me from eating whatever I was trying to eat, but I would prevail most of the time. I was quite fierce, probably very annoying, and probably a bit rebellious to my parents. But I think that's probably what makes my character and what has helped me accomplish some of the things I have in my life. I will tell you a bit about my early days. I was born and raised in Skopje, Macedonia. I had lived there until I was age 14. My school family was my extended family, and then we had a very large additional family. So in my life, those were the parameters. I didn't really know what else existed outside of Aerodrome, the cats that I would take home and bathe, and the stray dogs that I would feed with our most prized deli meats at home. So for me, that was life. It was my little community. And our house in Mavrovo, which is a place that whenever I think about nostalgia, this is the place I think of. So as the tensions began to escalate in 2000-2001 in Macedonia, the conflict didn't seem to have been contained just in Kosovo. And my family decided to take a very courageous step and immigrate. And my journey is actually much longer than Skopje to Toronto. It involved various different stops on the way. So we first immigrated to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where my mother pursued her PhD. We took 2 suitcases each, some English vocabulary under our belt, and took a one-way flight to Milwaukee, seeing how things will develop. And little did we know that we would ever end up in Canada. My interest in international development issues began in high school. I had great mentors, and I began to get very interested in social issues. And that led me to St. Olaf College, a liberal arts university in Minnesota. So while my parents take a second very courageous step to move to Toronto, Canada for more stability, a more diverse society, I decided to stay given the financial opportunities to help my education in the USA. At St. Olaf College, I studied political science and economics. And while I was on campus, which wasn't actually that much, I was part of the Political Action Committee, and I founded an organization called the International Development Education and Action Group. The time that I was off campus, I was pursuing academic and professional experiences. The summer after my first year, I spent in Thailand, in some rural areas in the northern regions, working with an organization that assists people with leprosy. I encountered some very humble and very magnificent people that changed the way I think forever. My next experience, I wanted to be a bit longer, so I decided to study abroad. I spent 9 months in Namibia, in sub-Saharan Africa, studying nation building post-apartheid. So I spent some time in South Africa, in Namibia, taking courses, understanding the conflict, and overall kind of getting a better sense of what the world looks like outside of that perimeter that I had built for myself in Aerodrome. I lived with a family. I was welcomed and taken care of by people whom I had never met before, people that I never thought I would have in my life. So that was also another very impactful thing. While I was there, I was working for a non-for-profit organization called the Namibia Housing Action Group. That is when my interest and desire to support women began. I saw that a lot of the women who were actually the breadwinners, they were saving money, they were entrepreneurial, they were making crafts, they were making food. They would come home and they would have no access to additional financial services, and sometimes even the money that they would earn wouldn't really be theirs to spend. So I started to work with a group of women through this organization, building their capacity to build better businesses and income-generating processes. So this was a microfinancing NGO. That led me to spend part of my last year at university in Nicaragua, in Granada, where I also worked with Opportunity International, and in a very similar project. I was working with women entrepreneurs, very powerful, very interesting women, get better access to financial services. This is Maria. This is one of the women that was quite inspiring. Even when I was off work hours, I would go visit her and see what she's up to, because she had some amazing stories to tell. After a year of having received loans, she went from being a very sort of domestically minded woman who did not even have her own allowance and money to spend, to actually hiring her husband and all of her sons in her own company. So these are the stories that were inspiring me along the way.
Во денешната емисија ви го прикажуваме вториот дел од интервјуто со професор Том Васос, автор на книгата Destination Innovation. Како што најавивме во претходните емисии, професор Васос предава на многу канадски и интернационални универзитети маркетинг и како социјалните мрежи го менуваат начинот на експонирањето на продуктите и сервисите.
How we would explain QR square, just for people who haven't heard yet, a little explanation.
Yes, so you're referring to QR codes that I can visually take a picture of. So this is just one of the functions of mobile phones, where I can take a picture of a QR code and instantly it will launch a website or a video or an audio clip of something. So I actually put over 150 QR codes in my book, because rather than explaining all these different concepts, by simply scanning that QR code, the user, the reader, will immediately get a 2 or 3 minute video on that topic. So it really opens up the book. Rather than being two-dimensional, just something I read, it comes with the companion mobile phone it doesn't come with a phone, but you have your phone, which you can then watch all of these full-blown videos to get even more explanation. So it turns it from a book into a multimedia environment.
So are you saying that a business card as a piece of information is dead?
Absolutely. So you can put a QR code on the back of the business card, which would show you a video of the person introducing themselves. You could have it on your storefront, where it would introduce you to the owner of that shop. You could have it on posters, on billboards, on TV shows. So you can put them just about anywhere.
This would be a right time to ask you about augmented reality.
Yes. So augmented reality, because of all the sensors and instrumentation built into phones, we can do things like track the GPS location of the device. It has a compass built in, so it knows which way we're facing. It has an accelerometer built in that knows how fast we're traveling with the phone. And so that might sound fairly simplistic, but it opens up to a whole series of capabilities like augmented reality, where I could literally be standing on a corner, hold up my phone or my iPad, and it knows my position and which way I'm facing, so it can identify buildings and say, oh, that building's for sale, or this one over here is for rent, a residential home or a commercial property, and I can immediately launch into a 3D virtual tour or a video. So it really is called augmented reality, because rather than just looking at that building, it opens up to the world of what's inside that building. How much is it leasing for? How many bedrooms does it have? Let me see the walkthrough to determine if it's something I'm interested in. So there's just so many capabilities that it opens up.
But isn't this too much info for somebody that we don't want them to have?
Not necessarily, but it also depends how it's implemented. So in that example I just gave you of the real estate, maybe we wouldn't give it to every consumer, but we might give it to the realtors. So now they have the power of seeing those 5 properties for sale near that intersection, and then they could guide the consumer that wants to buy one of those properties into to do a showing of it, for example. So it really depends what the objective is to determine whether or not it makes sense to have that much information in the hands of the consumer.
Where is Canada? Where Canada stands in terms of all the world in this technology?
In terms of social media, we are one of the top countries in the world in terms of the use of social media. More than 17 million people in Canada, probably more than half the population, checking Facebook daily, for example. So very heavy users of social media, a high proportion of people in Canada that have mobile devices. So it really opens up the possibilities to the combination of these two powerful technology forces, mobile devices and social media.
And QR Square?
And they're actually called QR codes. So QR codes, once again, they haven't taken off dramatically, but they have very specific uses that companies are finding that they are powerful in. I'll give you an example going outside of Canada. In Korea, Tesco created a grocery store called Home Plus, but they realized it would take them 5 or 10 years to compete with the number one grocery competitor. But what they did instead was they built backlit posters in subways where you had what the shelves of the grocery looked like, but there was QR codes underneath each of the products. So you could literally scan the milk, the bread, and the eggs, pay for your order while you're standing at the subway stop, and 2 or 3 hours later when you get home, your groceries are delivered to your home. So there's examples like that where these QR codes are creating opportunities for entirely new business models, where in this case, Tesco was able to enter the grocery market without even building a grocery store, although they did that as well. They used this to augment their reach into this new market. So there's uses like that that are starting to pop up around the world.
So are you saying that in near future, every single person would have this code, like the personal code that will be used for any reasons?
No, not necessarily, because each individual wouldn't have to have them, but the companies trying to promote something would implement them. And then whatever consumers want would have access to those codes, because any smartphone has the ability to read these QR codes, and then it can send you anything, a video, a website, whatever it is, or a commerce transaction. So literally you could scan that item and then make a decision to purchase it, and then it would get shipped out to your home. So many uses like that for them.
You travel all over the world, mostly in China, and you are having lectures there. What is the interest of these students, obviously, about this high knowledge of technology and marketing that you provide for them?
Well, so these marketing courses I provide talk about mobile marketing strategies, social media marketing strategies, because companies are recognizing the power of these technologies to reach out to customers. Specifically in China, it's just mind-boggling to know that 700 million people are social media users. Almost 1 billion people have mobile phones. So you can imagine companies and governments looking at that method of communications and realizing how powerful that is. And so it's opening up all of these new opportunities. Communicating with people, branding products, selling products, providing customer support in ways that we weren't able to do it before.
Was Alibaba's owner maybe one of your students?
No, I don't think he was. but it's interesting because we just got the results of Black Cyber Monday sales here in North America, and it was over $2 billion that now people are purchasing online. Well, guess what? On Singles Day in China, which is November 11th, 1111, their e-commerce sales even surpassed that day. So it's gone far beyond that in China, and they've really caught up to North America and now surpassed them in terms of e-commerce sales.
I would like to talk a little bit about your roots now. You are a Macedonian.
Yes.
What do you know about yourself?
You know, it's interesting you say that because how much do we know? We know what we learned from our parents. So we grew up speaking Macedonian and learning the language. And although they've taught us Macedonian, we've taught them English, of course. And over time, we're now mixing the two languages up between Macedonian and English. But you really learn from your roots, and you can really see how it carries over into your life, because my parents were very poor when they came here. They always struggled to make ends meet. And I think that's probably what has led me really, my entire life, really to have 3 or 4 jobs at any one point in time, working at IBM, teaching part-time, writing books about the topics I have expertise in. And so I think you can really see that work ethic from the family that came here from that area over to Canada really carried on to the children, that they would then really have the same kind of morals, ethics, work ethics to carry on their lives in Canada.
And obviously you still need to go back and see where your parents were born from, right?
Absolutely. So it's great when we do go back to see how things are there. It's always great to go back to Europe, as you know, to visit, and it's just such a wonderful place to see our roots. But you also get nice places to visit, great weather, and a lot of other perks from going back and visiting.
А сега в продължение да проследиме една музичка номера.
And now you listen something very different. Yeah, very different. For you, folk star, Papa Pretty Adriana.
Made in Macedonia.
Crazy do daska, večerva bagja, se koja maska, se koje plejak je dobije bakneš, tuga je za vas, Adriana Cash.
А сега во продолжение проследите дел од документарецот Ден во Македонија.
The oldest Slavonic texts date back to the 12th century AD. Among the masterpieces of sacral architecture to be found amid this Byzantine serenity, we should single out the artistic achievements of the fresco painters Michael and Eutychius. It is a fascinating fact that the fresco of the Lamentation of Christ in the Church of St. Panteleimon at Neresi was painted some 140 years before Giotto's Pietà. Some scholars believe that it is to this fresco that the roots of the European Renaissance can be traced. The Ottoman Turks appeared and flew over the entire land like birds of the air. This was the 14th century. It marked the end of the Middle Ages and the beginning of a new era. Macedonia was not left out of this process. The Ottomans were to stay in the territory of this land for 5 centuries, and they have left signs of their cultural heritage. It is said that there is no mosque in the world quite like the Painted Mosque, or indeed anything similar to it. Nearly a third of the Macedonian population can satisfy their spiritual needs in the numerous Muslim religious buildings. The past, the present, and the future are inextricably linked and interwoven in Macedonia. Apart from modern facilities, you should not be surprised to see an old blacksmith's shop, a loom from whose soft threads delicate handicrafts are created, or the millstone of a watermill. You can see all the colors of Macedonia in its diverse galleries. Today's offices, breathing the spirit of the modern age, are also decorated with the work of excellent traditional artists. The opulent imagination of woodcarvers, the exquisite patterns of Macedonian carpets, and the filigree working of gold and silver are all parts of the rich creative tradition of this people.
И во денешнава емисија имаме неколку информации за сите ваши прослави и одбележувања. Користите ги банкет салите во црквата Свети Климент Охридски во Торонто. За информации и резервации јавете се на 416-421-7451. Канадското македонско место во Торонто е пензионерски дом кој ви обезбедува угодно и хармонично живење. За повеќе информации побарете ја Златка на 416-755-9231. Исто ве информираме дека традиционалниот турнир во голф 74-ти поред ке се одржи на 5 јули оваа година на нова локација во Station Creek Golf Club во Онтарио. За регистрација одете на вебсајтот објавен на екранот. За професионално и поволно дизајнирање на вебсајтови побарајте ги TJ Hosting на 647-547-3061. И секако читајте македонски вести сега и со детални информации и важни надписи за македонската комуна во Торонто. Ако ги сакате вашите најблиски, купете за себе животно осигурување за да ги заштитите од непланирани трошоци. Како независен брокер за животни осигурања, сега можам да ви понудам заштита за вашето семејство дури и ако имате некоја од наведениве болести. Исто така за сите врсти на животно осигурување, перманентно или привремено осигурување за критични болести, осигурување на вашиот кредит за куќа, инвалидско и здравствено осигурување и осигурување кога патувате, јавете се кај мене на 647-977-0233. Јас ќе ви помогнам да го одберете најдоброто и најповолното осигурување за вас. Во денешнава емисија го најавуваме и македонскиот павилион на фестивалот Карасага, кој што започна вчера на 27 мај и ќе трае до утре 29 мај во Македонската православна црква Свети Илија од Мисисага. Дојдете сите и посетете го овој павилион кој ја презентира македонската култура, нација и традиција. Евродиско легендите од 80-тите со кои пораснавме за прв пат во Канада, CC Catch и Bad Boys Blue ќе настапат на 18 јуни 2016 со почеток во 7 часот во Meeting House 2700 Bristol Circle во Оквил. Дојдете и подсетете се на вашата младост. Не пропуштајте ја можноста да присуствувате на концертот на годината. За карти јавете се на 647 892 7799. 2016-та UMD Rocking Party ќе се одржи во сабота на 11 јуни годинава со почеток во 8 часот навечер во Ashbridges Bay Yacht Club во Торонто. Ќе се забавуваат Silordor и DJ Mimi. За карти кои чинат $40, одете на наведениот линк. Дојдете сите, помогнете организацијата Обединета македонска диаспора. Тоа е се, почитувани гледачи, што подготвивме за денешнава емисија. Нашата наредна средба ќе биде за 2 недели на 11 јуни, кога повторно ќе гостуваме во вашите домови. До тогаш ви благодарам за вашето ценето внимание, пријатно и довидување.
Da da